This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Khalifa Haftar forces seize a ship with Turkish crew off Libya a day after Turkish parliament approved a defense pact. French President Emmanuel Macron vows to boost the fight against Islamic extremists in West Africa. And Somalia is hit by the worst desert locust invasion in 25 years. This is a CGTN. Welcome to Africa Live with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program, one of Africa's biggest art collectors shows us his prized art pieces at his home in Lagos, Nigeria. And in sports, we catch up with the Confederation of African Canoe Vice President Said Haid, who speaks on the future of this sport in Africa. And we begin in Libya, where Eastern LNA forces have seized a Grenada-flagged ship with Turkish crew on board. An NLA naval vessel on Saturday stopped the ship in Libyan territorial waters. It was reportedly towed to a nearby port for inspection and its cargo to be verified. This latest incident on Saturday comes amid rising regional tensions. Turkey supports the LNA's arrival and internationally recognized the Libyan government in Tripoli, which has been countering a month-long offensive by Libya's eastern forces. Last month, the state media reported that Turkey's parliament had approved a security and military cooperation deal signed with Libya's Tripoli government. While it's not clear what the ship was carrying, Ankara has been suspected of sending military supplies to Libya. Meanwhile, Turkey says it will increase its military support to the internationally recognized government of Libya if necessary, while evaluating ground, air and marine options. Last month, Turkey and the GNA signed an agreement to boost military cooperation and a separate deal on maritime boundaries. Turkey has also said it could deploy troops to Libya if requested. The GNA has been fighting a month-long offensive by Khalifa Haftar's forces based in the east of the country to take over the capital, Tripoli.
As a result, Turkey will absolutely not turn back neither from the steps taken in Syria nor from the agreement signed with Libya. We know the reasons behind the efforts to topple the legitimate Libyan government. Recently, we have provided significant support to the legitimate Libyan government. If necessary, we will increase the military aspect of our support to Libya and evaluate all our options from the ground, air and sea.
Let's go to Ethiopia now, where 5 people suspected of burning down 4 mosques in the country's Amhara region have been arrested. A church in the town of Mota, north of the capital, was also targeted in an arson attack. Businesses owned by Muslims were reportedly burnt and vandalized in the same area. It remains unclear who is responsible for these attacks. The government has warned that it will not tolerate such criminal acts. CGTN's Girum Chala has more.
The latest attack reported in Ethiopia's Amhara region on Friday night is one that is said to be religion motivated. And in the town of Mota, some 350 kilometers from the capital Addis Ababa, several mosques were burned to the ground, and a huge property damage has also been reported. The government, more particularly Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, has denounced the act, calling it unacceptable. Abiy also said such a religion-based or any type of group attacks on church or mosque or individuals is intolerable. Already 5 people suspected of torching mosques and other properties are under police custody. More are also being pursued by security forces. Angered by this latest incidents, imams and other Muslims alike, as well as prominent people of the country, have condemned the act in the strongest terms. Many took their frustrations to social media, calling on the government to perhaps do more than arresting suspects. Some fear the ethnic-based violence which rocked Ethiopia part of last year could be repeated this time in form of religious violence. Grumtara CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
French President Emmanuel Macron has concluded his 3-day trip to Côte d'Ivoire by attending the groundbreaking of a new market project. Ivorian celebrated France's leader in the city of Bouaké, where he toured with his counterpart, President Alassane Ouattara. Macron visited Côte d'Ivoire to pay tribute to French and US soldiers killed in the city 15 years ago. He is then expected in Niger on Sunday to pay homage to 71 soldiers killed in a jihadist attack earlier this month. His visit to the region comes amid a surge in attacks by ISIL and Al-Qaeda. France, too, has borne the brunt of the militancy, with 13 troops killed during an operation against the insurgents. CGTN's Laura Walubengo brings us this report.
French President Emmanuel Macron is on an official visit to West Africa. A jihadist insurgency in several Sahel nations is at the top of Macron's agenda. During his two-day stay in Côte d'Ivoire, he spent time with French troops deployed in the country. The French leader also met with his Ivorian counterpart Alassane Ouattara. The two visited an international counter-terrorism academy near Abidjan. Macron's trip comes as the effectiveness of France's military role in the region has come under question, this as jihadist attacks have been on the rise.
What I expect from everyone is a sense of responsibility and the truth. France is not there with imperial intentions. It does not have an economic agenda in this respect, as I sometimes hear. Our subject is security. Our subject is first and foremost one of preserving the stability and sovereignty of African states that are attacked by these terrorist groups.
France has more than 4,000 soldiers in the Sahel region in its counter-terrorism task force, Operation Barkhane. French forces and their African allies this month neutralized at least 25 jihadists in separate assaults in Mali and Burkina Faso. French officials have expressed frustration that some countries in the region have not done more to curb criticism of French operations.
I openly tell you that if this political clarity is not established, France in certain countries will draw all the consequences, because I will not allow myself to be attacked. I will not allow our soldiers to be attacked with this type of argument.
France and the EU are major funders in the G5 Sahel military alliance aimed at combating terrorism. The leaders of the G5, comprising Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mauritania and Chad, are due to attend a summit in France on January 13th. They will seek ways to clarify the political and strategic framework of anti-terrorism operations. Laura Walubengo, CGTN.
Heads of state from the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, have been meeting in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. They are tackling a number of issues relating to politics, economics and security. Countries are also working out how to finance security operations against emerging threats in the region. Here's CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam with more.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari leads the summit to observe a minute's silence in honor of soldiers and civilians killed by terrorists in Niger Republic.
Their souls rest in perfect peace.
Terrorism has remained one of the major threats to the peace and stability of the region. Nigeria's northeast has been the worst hit. In the past decade, Boko Haram's insurgency has left tens of thousands dead and millions displaced from their homes. And that is making this meeting very crucial for member states.
Recurrent attacks by terrorist groups remind us of the urgency to build an enduring security partnership to confront and defeat the evil of cross-border terrorism. It was with great shock and immense pain that I received the news of the tragedy last week in the Tillaberi region of Niger Republic, where over 33 valiant soldiers and war citizens of the country were brutally massacred.
On the path to solutions, the UN maintains that regional collaboration cannot be overemphasized. The UN also registers its continued support in the fight against terrorism.
We must complement the military and security approaches with developmental approaches that address the root causes of this scourge. In this regard, ECOWAS will continue to enhance collaboration with ECOWAS.
The West African Regional Bloc also deliberated on ways to advance socio-economic development in the region. Its long-standing partnerships with financial entities like the African Development Bank is helping to deliver on impressive results in various sectors, including infrastructure development and agriculture. The bloc is also pushing for the advancement of the single currency regime and improved cross-border trade. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
You're watching Africa Live, still ahead on the program. Somalia hit by the worst desert locust invasion in 25 years. And one of Africa's biggest art collectors shows us his prized art pieces at his home in Lagos, Nigeria.
Years of conflict and an Ebola outbreak left Africa's oldest independent republic devastated. Liberia is now trying to rebuild amid numerous challenges. From industry, health, and even culture. It's a story of resilience and hope. Join me, Susan Mongeli, as we take a look at how Liberians are charting a new path. Only on CGTN.
Let's go to Somalia now, where locusts have been causing large-scale agricultural and environmental damage. It's been affecting the Puntland, Somaliland and Galmudug regions. Experts say it is the worst invasion in 25 years. CGTN's Daniela Pearson reports.
Farmers in Somalia are facing a new threat to their crops, the desert locust. It's already destroyed hundreds of thousands of hectares of farmland and rangeland, and the swarms are spreading.
Locusts finished the whole area, came to our farms and are eating our plants, as you can see. Once they're done, we won't have anything to feed our children, and we aren't even able to buy anything from the markets.
The locusts have eaten all the grass-covered areas and we are fighting to save our farm. We planted watermelons and beans, but we are not able to protect them. We're calling for the Somali government and the international community to come and help us.
The UN Food and Agriculture Organization says the invasion is far more serious than originally predicted. Locust eggs have been hatching profusely due to the unseasonably heavy rainfall and floods across East Africa.
It's more serious now than before. The locust normally crosses from Yemen into Somalia along the line of Puntland, now where it is, and Somaliland, coastal area. Then from there, when it lands, it starts now breeding, and then it continues to ravage whatever, either planting, crops, or even pasture.
The desert locust has also been threatening food supplies in neighboring Ethiopia. If left unchecked, the FAO says new swarms could even reach northern Kenya. Daniela Pearson, CGTN.
Cameroonian-born Alain Wanja has a company that manufactures the best quality recycling machinery in South Africa. Based in Johannesburg, the company, called Ruby Dust Trading, makes a range of balers. They're used to compressing recyclable and waste materials into small, manageable bales. Here's CGTN's Yolisa Njamela.
Balers are used in many other industries outside recycling facilities. These include manufacturing plants, retail outlets, schools, and many other businesses. And in a world where recycling has become so key, these machines can probably be best described as revolutionary. The machines ensure that the recycling process is seamless.
So let's say a 1 liter container is this big, but the baler will make it this small. So now you can be able to move like 20 tons in a truck that you were supposed to move like 500 kilos. So that's exactly what Bela does. So it's like the people who recycle materials, they always want it baled. So we create the machines that will bale the material before they can be able to use it to crush and melt and wash and do whatever thing they want to do with.
Wandra prides himself in being a pioneer of these machines on the African continent.
I'm proud to say I'm the first African black person to produce these machines in Africa. I came up with the whole concept myself. I did 13 machines single-handed. I didn't have someone to talk to, I didn't have someone to help and stuff like that. So I do the welding, the cutting, the designing, the hydraulics, the spray painting, like everything from scratch, deliver it, train the people myself.
This entrepreneur is delighted that his business is growing faster than he had originally imagined.
I came up with this concept. I've sold machines to Nigeria, Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda, South Africa. So that's to tell you that Africa is really getting into recycling. And that's the best part of my life that I can tell you that I've done to the world, and I'm happy with that.
The company is focused on creating jobs and saving our earth by making it a cleaner place through recycling.
Before saving the recyclers, I'm saving the earth, and I'm trying to see how I can clean our communities. And with the machineries that I'm supplying to people who are doing recycling.
Sandra Miller for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Now, one of Africa's biggest art collectors has given CGTN access to his collection at his home in Lagos. Nigerian Yemisi Shilon has over 7,000 pieces of art, ranging from traditional and neo-traditional African art to contemporary paintings and sculptures. Here's CGTN's Deji Badmus with that story.
He's popularly called the crazy art collector. Looking around his expansive compound, it's clear to see why. The artworks here are indisputably a collection of some of the masterpieces on the African continent. And if you think of any great artist to come out of Nigeria, you'll find their work here. Each of the pieces tells a deep-rooted traditional story that reflects the richness of African socio-cultural heritage. Yemisi Shilon is ranked among the world's top 100 art collectors, whose vast collection includes over 7,000 artworks. He started collecting art pieces 40 years ago as a second-year student in one of the country's most prestigious higher institutions. Over time, it has now become an obsession.
I've collected works from many countries in the world. When I go on cruises, I go on travels, I've visited many countries in the world. I've collected works from many. I have even a Salvador Dali and so on and so forth. These are all life-size bronze works, metal works, and you don't find many of it in Africa, not to talk of Nigeria.
In 2007, Yemisi Shilon established his art foundation, and in October this year, he opened the Yemisi Shilon Museum of Art at the Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. The state-of-the-art facility houses modern paintings and sculptures, as well as photographs of ancient cultural festivals.
I have helped different scholars from different universities in the world to come and study Nigerian art. Many of them came for their PhD research. I've helped different Nigerian artists and international artists to on art residency workshops here. I've organized seminars. I've done many things, all with a view to making a difference and leaving a lasting legacy. It gives me satisfaction that I am now establishing the first modern art museum for Nigeria. And the first of its type, I'm told, in sub-Saharan Africa.
Shilon is a selfless promoter of Nigerian art who has donated many of his pieces to public places and institutions across the country. He purchased all of these art pieces with proceeds from his personal investment and has also published 2 books on the collection. He says the historical value of this for him far outweighs the economic gains.
I don't make money from art. I don't sell art. Art is not about monetary value, but what role does it play to promote the culture and the contribution of any society to civilization, to global civilization. And that's the purpose of my collecting art. And also to promote historical content of our society.
Nigeria made around $5 million from the sale of art in 2018. And as more people continue to develop interest for art through the immense contributions of collectors like Yemisi Shilon, there's no limit to how much more the country can realize from art promotion. Deji Badmos, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
And your sports news coming up next. Here's what's ahead. In sports, we will be catching up with the Confederation of African Canoe Vice President Said Haid, who speaks on the future of this sport in Africa.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
And we start in Egypt, where the Confederation of African Canoe says the Under-23 Championship in Egypt's new Al Alamein city was a great success. The first Vice President, Said Haid, now says their next efforts will focus on spreading the sport across Africa. CGTN's Adel Mahroui had a sit-down with Said Haid, who shared the following.
How significant was the African Championship here in Egypt to the sport and to the African Federation?
I think it was very important to us because the first time we have a good number from the African representatives for these events, around 12 or 13 countries, plus special Olympic sports. And then, and we are first time in the Al Alamein. We have seen is a good event place, and we hope that the coming future we will have a very good events in this area.
There were many events introduced for the first time in this competition. Was it part of your plan, and what are your future plans?
Well, we hope the coming future that we will have a lot of events to be prepared. The important thing that the athletes they will have will to be Olympic medals and African champions. So that's our goal, to create the African talent to be joined to the Olympic Games and international championships. African canoe, since it has built it, we are suffering to develop for how to join to the countries, because most African sports they know only football, but they are not seeing the water sports, especially like canoe, kayak, and slalom. It's very important sport and the Olympic discipline, and also the canoe kayak is very important for Africa, because we have the natural resource, seas, rivers, lakes. So we are encouraging to all African countries to be joined for the canoe kayak.
Tokyo 2020 is coming. How is the African Federation preparing for it? And do you expect winning more medals this year?
We hope so. We used to make the training camps, and we have a special program to prepare for Olympic Games. First of all, we send it to compete the international championships, like international championship in Amsterdam, London, to compete the international big events. We have a potential to win the Olympic medals, and we get it Olympic medal. South African athlete who was got it Olympic medal, Tunisian, and we hope that the next Olympic game we will have a lot of medals.
Over to English football now, where bottom-placed Watford has defeated Manchester United 2-0 in their first win in 5 matches. A goalless first half saw both sides miss crucial chances, with